Hello, everyone, and welcome to the McClin-Talk. Today we are embarking on a new series that I lovingly refer to as the 32. This series will be focusing on the deck techs of the 32 commander decks, one of each color combination and colorless that I have constructed over the course of my attempt at the 32 deck challenge. Today's episode will be focusing on my mono white deck, Reidane, God of the Worthy, whose backside is, of course, Valkmira, Protector's Shield. Now, getting into the actual commander itself, Reidane, God of the Worthy is 2 generic and a white for 2/3 legendary god with flying vigilance. Snow lands your opponent's control into the battlefield tapped, and non-creature spells your opponent's cast with CMC 4 or greater cost 2 extra generic to cast. Her backside is Valkmira, Protector Shield, which is 3 and a white for a legendary artifact, which reads, if a source an opponent controls would deal damage to you or a permanent you control, prevent 1 of that damage. And whenever you or another permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless its controller pays 1. So this deck is a Hate Bear style strategy. We will be looking to tax our opponents, invoke a lot of attrition, kind of build up walls with our Ghostly Prison style effects, and then just kind of value them out. So shifting over to our Planeswalkers today, we only have 6 Planeswalkers in this deck, but they all do have valuable effects that will benefit us in the long term. Our Planeswalkers consist of Basri Ket, Gideon Blackblade, Teo the Shield Mage, Ajani Steadfast, Karn the Great Creator, and the Wanderer. Looking at these Planeswalkers, you can kind of tell that they all have some effect that does play very well into that Hate Bear style strategy. Uh, Teo granting us Hexproof, the Wanderer preventing non-combat damage, Karn kind of just shutting down abilities of artifacts my opponent's control, stuff like that. So we are very much kind of diving ourselves straight into that Hate Bear's effect. So moving over to our creatures, there's going to be a lot of the stuff you would normally see in a Hate Bear style strategy. We've got Giver of Runes, Aegis of the Gods, Containment Priest, Eidolon of Obstruction, Imposing Sovereign, Leonin Arbiter, Thalia Guardian of Thraben, Tithe Taker, Archon of Emeria, Aven Mind Sensor, Eidolon of Rhetoric, Eldrazi Displacer, Kinjali Sunwing, Runetail Kitsune Ascendant, Thalia Heretic Cathar, Ren Wingmare, Archon of Absolution, Baird Steward of Argive, Loxodon Gatekeeper, and Windborn Muse. Again, looking at this list of creatures, you'll find a lot of kind of go-tos for our a lot of Hate Bear style effects. You got the two Thalias, you've got Windborn Muse as a Ghostly Prison style effect. You'll see a lot of taxation abilities, a lot of stuff that prevents players from doing a lot of stuff, like Aiden Mind Sensor, shutting down library searches, just like Leonin Arbiter. You've got Eidolon of Rhetoric in here to make sure everybody can only cast 1 spell each turn. A lot of abilities that make creatures enter tapped. A lot of protective abilities in Aegis of the Gods and Giver of Runes. So just, again, a lot of standard Hate Bear style effects in these creatures. Moving over to our enchantments, you'll see, again, some pretty standard staples. We've got Authority of the Consuls and Legion's Landing as our 1-drops, Ashes of the Abhorrent, Blind Obedience, Griffin Airy, Mark of Asylum, and Arrest in Peace as our 2-drops, Aura of Silence, Curse of Vitality, Ghostly Prison, and Grasp of Fate as our 3s. Our 4s consist of Angelic Accord, Cast Out, Curse of Exhaustion, Leyline of Sanctity, and Sigil of the New Dawn. And our 5-drop enchantments are Blessed Sanctuary, Elspeth Conquers Death, and Sphere of Safety. We are, with our enchantments, very much trying to just cash in on attritioning our opponents out, making it harder and harder for them to actually attack us. So we are just building up that wall and just doing what we can to slow everybody else at the table down. Our artifacts in this list consist of Masterwork of Ingenuity to kind of just create copies of some of the more value equipments that can show up in Commander. Soul Ring, as always, a staple in every Commander deck. Dolmen Gate, thematic compass, kind of just slowing our opponents down again with the prevention of damage. Sculpting Steel is an interesting include in this deck that I put in here specifically so I can have both copies or a copy of both sides of Reidane on the battlefield at once. Play Valkyra, play Sculpting Steel as a copy of Valkyra, sacrifice the original one, and then play Reidane as her front side, so you can have the benefits of both sides of Reidane at the same time. So it's a little bit of a sneaky cheeky include there. We also have Witchbane Orb for redundancy of the hexproof ability. Norn's Annex is another kind of Ghostly Prison style strategy, and God Pharaoh Statue to again tax our opponent's spells into the ground. And then we are looking at our sorceries and instants. Only 2 sorceries in the deck as a copy of Winds of Abandon as a sorcery speed style Path to Exile effect that can be overloaded to just wipe everybody else's boards. And then Council's Judgment, a very solid white removal spell in sorcery speed, can potentially hit a whole bunch of permanents at once. So a solid include there. Our instants include Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares. Of course, it's mono white. Why would you not? Our also included are Brought Back, Celestial Purge, Deicide, Radiant Purge, Rally the Ancestors, Swift Response, Forsake the Worldly, Generous Gift, and Faith's Reward. With Faith's Reward and Brought Back, we are running those as kind of just protection for the wrath effects that can very easily pop up in Commander. We've got a decent suite of removal spells in Deicide, Celestial Purge, Radiant Purge, and Generous Gift, including as well Forsake the Worldly. So we're running a bunch of just hard removal spells for those effects that can pop up pretty easily in Commander. And then, of course, we've got a copy of Rally the Ancestor. We're just kind of looking to, if our board gets wrathed and we aren't able to really respond to it in that moment, this gives us the ability to just fling our graveyard back onto our board and just get a big swing in. And then lastly, we have our lands, pretty standard lands. You'll notice that I'm only running 33 in the deck. That is because I'm running a mono white deck here. Not really too high of a curve or anything either, so I'm running a decent amount of abilities on these lands. So we've got cards like Arch of Orazka as kind of an ability to get card draw late game. Same with Bonder's Enclave. We've got Castle Ardenvale to kind of clog up the board. Command Beacon to let us cast our commander late game after we've already run her into our opponent's threats multiple times. We're not having to pay for her commander cost too much. Emiria the Sky Ruin as just more recursion. Faceless Haven as just a very solid creature land, so we've got him in there as just a ground beater. Field of Ruin for late game, kind of just disruption for the Urborg, Yavimaya style effects. Kabir Crossroads, Karoo, Mistveil Plains, Nubinalia is just kind of standard utility lands. Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, which you should be running in pretty much every monocolored deck. If you're not, what's wrong with you? Opal Palace to kind of build up the commander later in the game if she's already kind of hit her way back to the command zone a bunch. Radiant Fountain, Reliquary Tower, Temple of the False God, and Windbrisk Heights as well. Again, just pretty standard, solid utility lands here, and that I'm running 16 snow-covered plains. So that is going to be it for the first episode of the 32. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked this video and can't wait to see more, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You can also ring the bell to be notified of future episodes of the 32. But until next time, thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you down the road.